You've likely heard the saying, knowledge is power. And when it comes to retirement planning, knowledge is mandatory. If you don't have the knowledge of your retirement plan, there's a little chance that you're going to actually implement it properly. So in this video, I want to go through what a retirement plan should look like, details you should look at, and how to fully understand it so that you can walk into retirement and through retirement with better knowledge and a better understanding of what you need to do. As we jump into the software, you'll see there's a lot of numbers on the screen, and that's important because you have a lot of numbers to your retirement plan. But let me highlight step by step everything that you see here. Now, again, we use snap projections. The reason I like snap projections, and people ask me this every single day, is because it's kind of like an Excel spreadsheet, which the majority of us have used in our career and have seen before, and we easily understand it. So what we're looking at here, this is a combined view. So on the top left here, we have a combined view, and then Tobias and Gabriel Decker individual, and I'll jump into each of one individual in a second here. So CFM is cash flow management, and this is basically saying, at what age do we want to actually start telling the program that we need to manage the cash flow within this? So they're going to retire in 2 years in 2026 at age 58 and 60. Now, that's where we have the checkbox. Before then, we're letting kind of the cash flow management happen automatically. That can be adjusted. Now, when we look at expenses here, so this is income. How much income do they need? And you can see here, the real income, once they retire, is $108,000 per year. Now, again, per usual, we've laddered that. So at age 75, it drops to 90 and then drops to 80 later in life. Now, there's two different numbers here, the real number and the nominal number. Now, the real number is we want to give Tobias and Gabriel $108,000 in today's dollars. So we want to keep that number level. The nominal dollar is the amount that they will actually have in their pocket. So if we fast forward to when they're 63 and 65, they will actually receive $124,058 to spend. So that is their actual spending. So that's the difference there between the real and nominal. So in that year, 2031, the 124 is equivalent to 108 in today's dollars. Again, if you play with the inflation rate, depending on what you want for your plan, that'll change slightly. But that's the difference between a real and a nominal dollar. You want to make sure that nominal dollar is increasing every year because, as we know, life gets more expensive every year. And to keep up with it, we need to make sure we have more in our pocket. So make sure that your retirement plan has this real and nominal dollar because that's going to be a big difference. You need to make sure, okay, what am I actually receiving, but what it's worth in today's dollars. So that's why it's really important that we include this as part of your retirement plan. The next area we look at here is income. So both Tobias and Gabriel are working. They're working professionals making a very nice income. University of Toronto and PwC. So they have 2 more years of income, which you can see there. And then part of that income, we have some expenses in there. There's a couple different ways to map that out. But essentially they have $60,000, $30,000 each in the first year of retirement. And then $60,000 each, $120,000 total about 5 years later. So those are things that we can map into the plan as well, like expenses, whether it's a new roof for the house, a new car, whatever it is. Now, when you build out a retirement plan, there's many ways to map out your expenses. Some of you like to save up for those larger expenses in your everyday expense, in your everyday budget, meaning that when you collect your $108,000 after tax in your pocket, you allocate that to a side bank account to pay for those. I need to update my car, replace the roof, all these extra things that come into life. Where some of you want, no, anything that's above $5,000 or $10,000, I want as a separate line item in my retirement plan. So again, there's options there, but make sure you talk to your financial planner and have that discussion to make sure that it's mapped out properly so that you actually save properly so that when that expense comes, you have the money ready to go and you know where it comes from. The next column, pensions, not a lot of you will have that, but if you do, you want to make sure that your pension is properly mapped out. And again, you want to see, for a lot of you, if you have a pension, typically if you start before 65, it's a different amount than after 65. So here for Tobias, his amount is $46,000 adjusted to inflation with the 60% survivor benefit. But when he hits 65, there's a bridge benefit that goes away. So that's really important to map out. Make sure it's mapped out properly so that when I look at his University of Toronto pension here, you can see $46,920 in that, call it second year. But as soon as he hits age 65, it drops to 41,955. So that bridge benefit drops off. It's grown with inflation over time, but that bridging is important to make sure it's mapped out properly. And remember, just because your bridge benefit has dropped off doesn't mean you need to start CPP or old age security. Those are separate entities altogether. And a lot of you think that, okay, at age 65, my pension bridge drops off, I need to start those things. That's not the case. It may be the case, but you want to make sure you map that out to make sure that whatever and wherever you're drawing your money from is the most efficient for you. The next column is government benefits. So highlighting your Canadian pension plan and your old age security. You can also put in survivor benefit and things like that. So again, look at timing. I won't get into that in this video, but look at timing of when to start your government benefits. Again, your Canadian pension plan, CPP, you can take anywhere between 60 and 70. Your OAS, your old age security, anywhere between 65 and 70. So there's a benefit to delay it. There's a penalty to take your CPP early. So make sure that you look at timing around this. Again, for this scenario, we've just left it at 65 because the purpose of this video is not to figure out like how do we maximize. I just want to show you what your plan should look like and how you understand how to read it. Now, the next column is tax, and this is utterly important because at the end of the day, you need to know how much tax you're paying and have you reduce the tax. Now, I always say there's two important factors when building a plan. Well, there's lots, but there's two key ones that we focus in on. And the primary one is your after-tax money in your pocket, meaning that everything you've worked hard to build up, how do we get the most after-tax money in your pocket? That's really important. And that's, to us, priority number one. Priority number two is how do we make sure we pay less tax along the way? At the end of the day, if you're paying less tax, but you have less money in your pocket, that doesn't really make sense to you. But if you have more money in your pocket and you're paying less tax, that's where we want to be. And I'll break down more of the tax numbers, marginal and effective tax rate here a little bit in this video. Lastly, we want to look at financial assets. And again, this is a combined view of financial assets between both Gabriel and Tobias. Real estate, we'll highlight the real estate here. Again, there may be a downsize, a purchase, a sale, all of that. You can highlight that in here. But you want to see how these assets are growing over time. And if you have any debt, how much you're paying every year and how much the total amount owing is. Lastly, we look at balances of their estate. So they can look at both their net worth, their estate before tax, and tax on estate. Now, what you want to make sure you're looking at later in life is that you're winding down that tax bill. So you can see on the very far right, tax on estate, by the time they're here at age 82 and 84, there's essentially zero tax on their estate, meaning that if they passed away a little bit earlier than life expectancy, you can see here that their estate after tax is $3.6 million in nominal dollars. In today's dollars, $2.167 million. So a lot of money there. And again, the tax is about $6,000. They have that tax beyond up to age 90, essentially because they have a LIRA account in this example. And LIRA or LIF accounts, very challenging to get rid of before age 90. So that's why they have that. But essentially, you're at a zero tax bill by their mid-80s. And that's what you want. You want your plan to map out where that tax on estate is gone by life expectancy, but you show cash flow till 95. So again, these clients, we're showing them a cash flow all the way to age 95. You can see that $80,000 goes all the way till Gabriel turns 95. Very important. If she continues to live, we need income for her. But if they do die when they're supposed to, life expectancy, we've also planned for that. There's not going to be any tax bill going to CRA in the form of estate taxes. So we've looked at the combined view, but let's jump into the individual view, which I think is really important because we need to see where is my income coming from? And this is the biggest gap that most financial plans have is you see these all graphs, charts, and fancy words and all that, but at the end of the day, you have no idea where your money's coming from. And if you don't know where your money's coming from, the plan is probably not going to be implemented, and you're probably not going to have too successful of a retirement unless you have oodles of money. So let's jump into the software, and I want to break down kind of how this should be viewed. And again, if you're sitting there saying, I don't know how my income comes out, make sure you understand this at the end of the process of, okay, here's how much comes out of each account every year for the rest of my life. Here's how much taxes I pay when I start my government benefits. There's all these moving parts. I always say there's all these income silos when you hit retirement. You have a lot of income buckets. It needs to funnel down to have the most efficient income for you, but you need to know where that income comes from and how much tax is going to be along the way. So here's the individual view for Tobias. And as you can see here, I've highlighted age 65. And so year 2031. Now, if we scroll over, we can see his pension, 41,955, collecting a small amount of CPP and old age security. He has his birthday later in the year, that's why it's a smaller amount. The next year it's going to be a full amount. Taxable income, $67,501, and I'll show you how we get there in a second. Total tax payable is $9,492, a marginal tax rate of just under 30%, and an effective or average tax rate of about 14%. So quite a low average tax rate. Now you can see he's pulling a bit of money out of his TFSA that year, a substantial amount out of his RSP or RIF at that point, $52,000, and the maximum amount out of the LIRA of $4,632. And then he's going to income split, meaning that he's going to shuffle some of that income over to Gabriel, $33,000, for tax purposes. So if we add up all those numbers, the 52, the 4, the 25, the CPP old age security, minusing the 33,200, we're going to get 67,501. So that's his taxable income. So again, you need to know where that's coming from. Now, again, some of it, the TFSA is non-taxable, so that comes into play as well. And you can actually, if you have a good software, you can actually click on like total tax. And so we can see federal and provincial tax in 2031, 6,172 in federal, 3,320 in provincial taxes. So that's important as well. You should break that down. Where does that income come from? Taxable income. So again, what I like about this program is when you look at it, it kind of looks like an Excel spreadsheet, right? And not only that, but we can actually hit export up here and export an Excel spreadsheet to view. And this is something that we give to our clients as we go through the planning process with them. So you will get a copy of this, and it's all the same details. So again, Tobias, we can grab age 65, and essentially if you scroll over, you could grab any asset, any income. So TFSA, look, negative 25. Okay, I got to take out 25,000. The value at the end of the year should be 56,176. All the details are on there. So instead of receiving a financial plan with a bunch of graphs and charts and words and I have no idea what I'm doing, sure, some of that is good, but at the end of the day, an Excel spreadsheet or something like an Excel spreadsheet where it clearly maps out every single year, all the assets is money coming in or money going out of that account. That's important because that's an easier way to follow it. Now, if you have larger one-time expenses, you also want to know where are those coming from. So you can see for Tobias, if I grab age 64, where he's got that $60,000 expense, you can see his TFSA has $86,000 coming out of it, meaning that the bulk of that $60,000, if not all of it, is coming out of his TFSA and not driving up his tax rate. Now, one way to ensure that is if we look at his effective tax rate or average tax rate, he's floating just under 17%. And his total tax bill is $11,000, which is similar to the year before and the year after. So we've been able to provide that one-time expense that he has, but not drive up his taxable income, which is really important. And this is why you need to kind of map out years in the future. And we don't know all of our expenses, but try and guesstimate as best you can so that when they come up, you're not driving up a big tax bill to make that purchase happen. So what does your retirement plan look like? Are you able to actually follow it and implement it? I tell everyone that I talk to, you can have a great retirement plan. And I know our team builds fantastic retirement plans. I would put them up against anyone in Canada. We build phenomenal retirement plans. But at the end of the day, if our clients don't understand and know how to implement the plan, it's useless. And a lot of you are sitting there with probably pretty decent retirement plans. They might be awful, but they might be okay. But at the end of the day, if you don't understand it, know how to implement it, it really is useless. So if you're sitting there saying, Adam, like, I think I have a plan, but I have no idea how to read it, how to implement, how to understand it, there's no point having it in the first place. So if you need help with a retirement plan, reach out to our office. We have 6 CFP professionals on our staff. All we do is build retirement plans for Canadians coast to coast. So no matter where you live, if you are planning to retire in Canada or if you're from Canada, even retiring abroad, reach out to our office. We'd be happy to help you build a proper retirement plan, make sure you understand it, and give you the next steps to implement that plan. Again, knowledge is power. And when it comes to retirement planning, knowledge is mandatory. You need to know how your plan works, what you need to do next, and where your income comes from.